4 minutes for a rebuttal, and then we'll have the closing remarks. So kindly note those four sections. And then, of course, we are respectful in our arguments, and then no personal attacks. And then, of course, the judges will have the final say on the same. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I want us to welcome on stage our first speaker from the proposition side to make the opening remarks. Karibu Kelsey.
Mr. Moderator, honorable judges, the opposition team, and fellow citizens, good afternoon. My name is Kelsey Ndutambugwa, a member of the youth in PCEA Moja Youth Service, and allow me to start with a quote from the famous Justice Louis Brandeis, who reminded us that the global history of democratic societies shows that the ultimate authority rests with the people, not the politicians. The highest office in a democracy is not the office of the president or the governor, but the office of the citizen. Today, we are debating a fundamental truth of nation building. The motion before us states that citizens are equally responsible as elected leaders for the quality of governance in their country. We, on the proposition, strongly support this motion. To understand why, we must correctly define our terms, which are governance. Governance is not merely the actions of those in high offices, but it is the entire system by which a society organizes itself, manages its resources, and upholds justice. What is citizenship? Citizenship, on the other hand, is not a passive status or a mere identity card. It is an active office, and in a true democracy, the highest office in the land is not the president or the governor or any leader, but that of the citizen. I'll make reference to Article 1 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, which reminds us that we, the people, are the sovereigns of the country. I will divide my argument into two limbs. One, the origin of authority and civic choice, and two, the continuous duty of co-production. Before I begin, allow me to trace back to two famous philosophers. This is John Locke and Thomas Hobbes, who gave us the social contract theory. What does this theory mean? So this theory dictates that a state is not formed by leaders imposing power from above, but by citizens willingly surrendering a portion of their individual autonomy to a central authority in exchange for security, order, and justice. In this case, our government. This means the state is a partnership and not a dictatorship. A contract, by its very definition, binds both parties equally. That is the citizens' justice from the House of Lords, called George Orwell. He reminded us that a people that elect corrupt politicians, imposters, thieves, and traitors are not victims, but accomplices.
Thank you, Kelsey. Kindly conclude on your point. Yeah.
Okay. I would like to request an extra 1 minute to conclude. Our faith teaches us that leadership is a sacred trust, but it also demands individual discernment. If we use our civic power carelessly, we are directly responsible for bad governance that follows. Very quickly, I will jump to my second argument and remind us that governance is a process of co-production. Leaders provide direction and executive laws, but those laws mean nothing without citizen compliance and active responsibility. I'll give us an example. If a leader can pass anti-dumping laws, but if citizens choose to litter, then the environment in general will fail. This means that for our state to grow healthily, the citizens need to play an equally important role as the leaders they put in power. Good governance cannot be delivered to a passive audience, just like pizza is delivered to you. It must be built together. To say citizens have less responsibility is to reduce us to helpless children. And we are not children, we are stakeholders of the state. In conclusion, if a country thrives, it's because its citizens demand excellence and worked for it. On the other hand, if it fails, it's because its citizens withdrew into silence and apathy. We cannot expect leaders to have integrity if the society as a whole produces them and mocks integrity in life. Governance is a mirror reflecting the collective character of the nation. That is my argument. Thank you for listening. I would like to hand over the floor to my next speaker.
Thank you. Let's appreciate our speaker from the proposition side. Thank you. I want to call over our first speaker from the opposition side to do your opening remarks. Karibu. Let's appreciate Jackson.
Judges, fellow debaters, dignitaries, good afternoon. Good afternoon once more. I don't know if I have a Kang theory which I should start with, but one thing I want to say is don't confuse between influence and power. Now, yes, citizens, we have a very special role in our country. Voting, we put the people in power. But let me ask you something. Have you ever voted for the budget? Do you keep seals on the government? We don't have some special permissions that the government carries. Like the people who are elected, they have more influence to the government. Yes, we can say that we have a part to play also, but the government, whatever they do, they know more than what we do. Governance is the process by which a country is directed. Decisions are made and public resources, how they are managed. That is what we call governance. And leadership responsibility is the duty of those entrusted with authority to make decisions, implement policies, and serve the public interest. Now, we cannot say that we, the government and the citizens, have the same power. There is, the greater the power, the greater the responsibility. They come to us, they ask us to vote. We vote for them. They take oaths to protect the Constitution. They have greater power than we do. We cannot say we have the same level as the government does. Now, I think I'm very sure, let me just go to my conclusion, very easily. Citizens play a very important role, but elected leaders carry the primary responsibilities to our country. Because they possess the authority, they make decisions which affect millions of lives. Yes, we may say citizens have a very important role in our country, yes, but the influence which the leaders carry compared to the influence which the citizens carry are two very different things. So I would like to put my conclusion there, and that is our opposing. Thank you.
Let's appreciate our speaker from the opposition side. Thank you. Now I'm going to invite the second speaker from the proposition side to build onto the points that have been presented by the first speaker. Let us welcome Abigail from the proposition side. Tumpigie makofi. Abigail, you have 4 minutes starting now.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And honorable judges, I continue to support the motion that citizens are equally responsible as elected leaders for the quality of governance of this country. So my core arguments today, the first argument is silence is consent. If a leader steals or fails and public remains silent, then that silence acts as a green light. Tolerance of corruption is a choice. Civic silence is a vote for bad governance. The power of public oversight. The citizens have tools like paying taxes, community policing, attending community gatherings and peaceful protests. When citizens engage, corruption shrinks. When citizens sleep and bad governance thrives. Apathy is the real enemy. When citizens say politics doesn't matter, they hand complete control over to the special interest groups, that's the politicians. So governance fails because governance does not fail because leaders are evil or cruel. They fail because good citizens did nothing. The price of apathy is to be ruled by evil men. Leaders hold the steering wheel, but citizens fuel and dictate the destination. Margaret Mead said, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. It is the only thing, indeed, that ever has." Honorable judges, today we are reminded of an ancient truth: to whom much is given, much is received. We often forget that the ultimate power of democracy has been given to citizens. We cannot demand a righteous harvest if we have not tended to the soil. How many minutes do you have?
You have 1 minute, 40 seconds.
Thank you, I'm done.
Thank you. Let's appreciate Abigail. Thank you. I'm going to welcome the second speaker from the opposition side to build onto their points. Welcome, Victoria. Let's appreciate her.
Oh, sorry. My bad.
So, Victoria, you also have 4 minutes starting now.
Okay, I'll start my speech in. Okay, hi. I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Judges. Citizens are equally responsible as elected leaders for the quality of governance in their country. The characterization of this debate then cannot be about whether citizens have some responsibilities or not, because we clearly do have responsibilities as citizens. Of course we have responsibilities. The question now is whether citizens ought to have the same responsibility to be equally as equally elected leaders. The reason why we think responsibility cannot be equal within status quo is simple. We don't have like equal expertise. Do you know what the MCA does? Do you know how much she does equally like every time in terms of allocating for budgets, legislating leaders and that sort of thing? We don't have equal power. We don't have equal, equal agency to make these particular decisions or capacities. Therefore, when none of these things exist within a society, and in no democracy are you ever gonna find citizens also can you draft a budget? Did you have a say in the finance bill? At the point in time where I'm able to prove to you these things, then I can also tell you, then by virtue that you don't have, by the virtue that I can claim that you don't have power to do these things, then we cannot allocate the same responsibility to you. Then my first argument goes to tell you that opposition tries to tell us or to give us charts about maybe that citizens are elected, therefore you do have a responsibility. The main argument then you get from me is simple. I think, and just an example of how democracies work, right? We think citizens, of course, elect people, right? But then democracies work because you have people that vote for a certain party. We don't vote for a certain party. You will have someone that said, I voted for Ruto, I didn't vote for Ruto, that sort of thing. When they tell us things about accountability, that every citizen should be accountable, if Ruto steals money, or if maybe someone else steals money in leadership, how then do you accrue the responsibility to me as a person that didn't vote either for Ruto? But fine, even if I did vote, when you find leaders in power, and when we come to give you chat about, oh, vote for me because I'm good, vote for me because I'm this, no leader comes to tell you, vote for me because I'm going to be corrupt. Therefore, you have been influenced, and your decision to make that, your idea or your choice to make that decision, they talk to you about choice, was awfully influenced. It was not influenced with the right in mind, right? You didn't know that this person was going to make that decision. Therefore, they cannot hold you accountable for something that for a decision you made 5 years ago, and you didn't know that thing is going to particularly affect you and that sort of thing. But then we also tell you, leaders exercise power. They draft laws, they pass budgets, and that sort of thing. We never see like active citizens being involved in these procedures. And what that tells you then is when you're accruing responsibility, even in court, fine, and I think we can use the same rationale, right? When you elect or when you choose a doctor to particularly treat you, if that doctor fails, does the responsibility get accrued to the patient? When you choose an architect to build this structure and then the structure falls, does that responsibility accrue to you? We don't think so, because the person actively came and championed and said, I can build this thing, I can put up this structure and that sort of thing. We then think these people that particularly ask for these positions should actively take responsibility and take ownership. We particularly don't think omission is equal to commission. They tell you things about or chat about that if you don't vote, or maybe if you don't comply to the rules, then particularly maybe you're actively contributing to bad governance. We think that is specifically a lie, majorly because we are not actively committing crimes. Me choosing to vote cannot equally be compared to a person or to an elected leader that actively maybe embezzle funds. You cannot compare that to a leader that caused wars. I think omission, fine, might be a contribution to bad governance, but then you cannot equate that decision to equal responsibility. They need to do a lot of legwork to prove the following things for them to win this debate,
Victoria,
right?
kindly conclude.
All right. For them to win this debate, judges, they're going to have to do the following things, right? They're going to either have to show you what happens to citizens that particularly don't vote for these leaders, right? Or citizens that particularly maybe their vote was bad, right? They're also going to have to tell you how this equal responsibility is going to be distributed, right? Are we going to go to the prisons with the elected leaders when leaders embezzle? Are we also going to go to prisons? They have to do a lot of legwork to prove to us how this accountability is going to be accrued. At the point in time when we don't do that, then we don't see justification for how leaders can, for how citizens can actively be held the same on the same level of accountability. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you. Let's appreciate Victoria. Thank you. So at this point, I'm going to give both sides a chance to, for the rebuttal, to just respond to the other side's view and points, and we will start with the proposition side. Welcome back our first speaker. You have 4 minutes for the same, and your time starts now.
Good morning, good afternoon again. I'd like to take the 4 minutes allocated to me to give rebuttals for the proposition side. I'll start with the first point on power. How do you view power as a citizen? I view power as a captain of a ship. Let me give you a scenario. So let's say our leaders, we view them as captains of this ship that we call Kenya. And the ship accidentally sinks. Do you blame the passengers in the economy class, or do you blame the captain? The opposition argue that you blame the captain, which is not the case. I'll tell you why. Honorable judges and our Mr. Moderator, a nation is not a commercial cruise liner like that ship where passengers bought a ticket to sit back and relax. You have to follow up. A nation is a volunteer rescue boat. You see that rescue boat, you move, you become vigilant to try get rescued. The citizens choose the captain, you choose your president, and the democracy is there. But the citizens also fuel that engine that drives Kenya. We own the constitution, which is the engine in this case. The citizens also are the crew. We are the members of this crew, that is Kenya. And if the captain starts steering into an iceberg, we as the citizens don't just sit and watch. We have to take action. That crew, which is us, is just as responsible for the wreckage by sitting down and watching as the captain steering is. I will move to the point on responsibility. I had earlier mentioned that the state power is not possible if the citizens do not comply. This means that for any state to function, there has to be co-production. The government has to do its work, and the citizens also have to do their work. That is why we hold them equally accountable to how the nation progresses. If you find that, let's say, the leader you elected is not performing, you as the local mwananchi, what are you doing? Are you holding this leader accountable? If not, and things don't work out, you don't just come and start blaming or pointing fingers at your leader. You have to do your work as a citizen. If a bill is being passed and you don't support it, attend that public participation, make your voice heard. That is where your accountability comes in. You can't just stay home, sit there, and wait for that bill to be passed, then start pointing fingers at your member of parliament and blaming them for passing bills that are punitive. No. To conclude, I will also emphasize that the opposition argues that leaders hold the levers of power and their responsibility is greater than that of the citizens. But this is not the case. In corporate governance, especially in democracy, shareholders hold the ultimate responsibility for the company. Even though the CEO handles the daily millions, that is the activities going on in the company. We, as the citizens of Kenya, are the shareholders of what happens in our country. If the CEO, that is the people in governance, are making or taking steps that we don't like or we don't agree with, we as the citizens are supposed to come together and fight for what we find right. That is where we play our role as the citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Let's appreciate our first speaker. Thank you, thank you. The same opportunity goes to the opposition side for the rebuttal session. I'll welcome the first speaker. You also have 4 minutes for the same, starting now.
Okay, so I think we need to go back to the basics of definition, right? We think governance looks like the following things. We think it looks like delivering services, building roads, making sure there's electricity and that sort of thing. What you're getting from proposition side is something called oversight. The motion doesn't talk about oversight. The motion is not talking about whether we're not discussing whether citizens should be equally responsible for the quality of oversight. We're talking about the quality of governance, right? What does oversight then looks like? It looks like once you elect a leader within like these particular spaces, they tell you they're gonna build roads, they tell you they're gonna draft laws, they tell you they're gonna maybe pass certain budgets, they're gonna take care of you, but they don't. Oversight then looks like what they're talking about, right? It looks like maybe ensuring that these demonstrations maybe to just challenge these particular laws, calling these particular people out, publicly criticizing them, ensuring that you publicly participate. That is something called oversight. And we're not talking about oversight, we're talking about governance, right? You cannot actively check citizens for things they do not have power to take care of. You cannot say that because ABCD did not build roads, then now you Mwananchi, you Mama Mboga, you are also going to be held to the same level accountability, right? But even if we take their best case to be true, even if like these people maybe could find, there's a way we were able to check these particular people, taking them at their best case. We think that most people within society or most citizens either actively don't have an incentive to care for these positions, right? Mama Mboga doesn't care about the finance bill. Why? Because she's particularly not well informed, right? And that's why we have leaders to take care of the finance bill, because they are well specialized, they've read, they are taught, and they told us they know how to do these things, right? They need to prove where this Mama Mboga is going to have agency and capacity to do this, to do these particular things to take care of these governments, right? But then second thing, we also tell you that there are, for you to be held legally accountable, whether legally, society, socially and that sort of thing. You must prove that you had sufficient information possible. They must prove that citizens had sufficient information to understand that maybe leaders in maybe Embu were stealing the budget. We think Mamambogas or like anyone else, even you seated here, you don't know what's happening with your money. You are just told 4.8 trillion has been taken to go and do ABCD. You have no idea how that money is being used. Therefore, they cannot hold you accountable for something that you did not have an idea of how it was going to do, an idea of whether it was going to happen. They also don't answer you how the non-voters are going to be treated. That's something you need to note, right? Anyways, when we talk, the major point you particularly get from us is we tell you the whole chat about since you elected people, since you had a choice to put these people, since you still have a choice to remove these people from power. The reason why that is not relevant and it cannot exist is because a leader is given authority within particular society. And they talk to you about social contract. Social contract is where you maybe give away your power so that your rights are protected. So you give or you delegate duties. The reason why that is counterintuitive is because once they say that you can hold citizens accountable, that's, Madam Chair here is a leader, right? She's the MCA. We hold her accountable. At the point in time when she says that if Madam Chair here doesn't make sure like the road here is correct, then all of us are responsible. That means she has power, she has money, she has access, she can make decisions, but we're all taking the blame. That means you're never going to be able to check these particular people in power. We think the biggest harm you can have within society is particularly having power within, or having people with unchecked power within society. We think that is bad and is harmful. Again, we think representation within democracy exists to, we think representation in a democratic state exists to transfer power. That technically means that select leaders, for the leaders you select, you transfer that authority, that responsibilities from ordinary citizens to best people placed within society to particularly make decisions, right? Why is this important? Because ask yourself, why don't all of us 50 million sit in parliament and dictate choices? It's because it's just not rationally possible, right? And therefore, if you're not there to make a choice, what claim then, or how is it justified for her to accrue this particular responsibility to you? And because when you accrue responsibility, then you must accrue accountability. And we ask them how they are going to hold us accountable too. They don't give us any way they're going to hold us accountable, because for leaders, when they fail, we know when you embezzle funds, you can go to prison, you can pay that money. How are they going to hold citizens accountable?
Thank you, Victoria. Wrap up on your views.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
So my major point, or major point as proposition is, we think it's principally unjustified. We think it's principally harmful to delegate this particular responsibility to citizens. We think once citizens give up that power, we think we're able to trust these particular leaders, and they don't tell us whether they're bad people or they're good people. We trust them. By that virtue, then, it's very important to hold them accountable. And I've already proved to you why you cannot hold people that don't have sufficient knowledge, sufficient expertise, sufficient power to make these decisions accountable. And with that, I rest. Here.
Thank you. Let us appreciate Victoria. Thank you so much. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to hear the closing arguments or remarks from both sides. And we are still going back to the proposition side for your closing remarks. Welcome. Let's appreciate Abigail. So you have 3 minutes for the closing remarks. Kindly, IT, 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable judges, our key argument today is operational power. Yes, a leader holds the pen, but the citizen holds the contract. Leaders are merely employees and citizens are the employers. If an employee ruins a company because the employer refuses to interview them properly, give them zero oversight, and blindly renew their contract, the employer bears equal responsibility for the ruin of that business. The opposition wants you to believe that citizens are naive children who are easily tricked. But in the age of information, political naivety is a choice. If a citizen falls for the same empty promises, election after election, without checking a politician's track record, then that is not defraudment, that is civic negligence. We are responsible for our own gullibility. Mr. Speaker, bad politicians are elected by good citizens who do not vote or who vote blindly. Today, the proposition team has reminded us that as citizens, we are not helpless spectators in the grand theater of governance, but the primary of the script. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's appreciate Tabi. Sorry, for the opposition side, your closing remarks.
To my closing remarks, it was such an amazing moment riding on a ship, which when it hits an iceberg, I'm the one to be blamed, not the captain. Now, for a leader to stay in power, they need a degree. I don't need a degree to become a citizen of Kenya. That means what? They have a greater responsibility than I do. Now, in conclusion, while citizens have a role to play in promoting good governance, they are not equally responsible as elected leaders. Get that? Equally responsible. Citizens do not hold the power to make laws, allocate national resources, or public funds and decisions in making power. The proposition argues that silence enables corruption and that citizens fuel the country. However, even when the citizen speaks out, vote responsibly, and demand accountability, the final decision remains in the hands of the leaders. A vehicle may need fuel to move, but it is the driver holding the steering wheel who determines the direction and avoids accident. Therefore, responsibility cannot be equal when power is not equal. For this reason, we firmly oppose the motion that citizens are equally responsible as elected leaders for the quality of the governance in their country. The greater the power, the more the responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's appreciate our speaker once again. And also let's appreciate all of them once again. Thank you. It has taken courage, it has taken preparation, and even that kind of thoughtful engagement, and thank you so much. And we will give our judges some 5 minutes to deliberate on the results, and as they are doing so, even as our debaters are still seated where they are, I'll just give good. So as our judges are deliberating on the results, so nitapatiana nafasi sasa kwa our audience so that you're able to ask questions on the same motion. Now, our motion is that we as the citizens also have the same responsibility as our leaders when it comes to leadership and the running of the country. Kwa hivyo nitapatiana maswali mbili upande huu. Now, 2 other questions this side, and the floor is open, even as we wait for our judges to announce on the same. So we have our mics. Thank you. Haya, kwa hivyo nataka tuulize maswali or even your feedback or comments on the same. Good, we have one there, and I think for the sake of just noting who we have, you can just raise your question. I note the hand that we have. It will be easier. So one question there. Another one, a question or a comment. Nataka kuona mkono ingine wapi? This side. I get your question or your comment ready. Tuanze hapo, kindly stand up and ask your question or your comment.
Good evening. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, my question is, you have said you give a contractor us as citizens, we should read the blueprint. But if I don't know what it says, as what is written in the blueprint.
Your question is directed to which side? The proposition side, to Kelsey. Kelsey, you've gotten the question? Kindly repeat.
Umesema tumekupea kazi So tunapaswa tuangalie blueprint yenye tulikupea, si ndio? Tusome sisi wenyewe. Lakini ukiangalia blueprint, si kila mtu anaweza isoma. Nyinyi mmeichora. So si nyinyi mnapaswa mtueleze venye mliandika.
Okay, thank you very much for your question. From what I'm understanding, you're talking about education on political education on the local common mwananchi. Okay, I'll tell you one thing for free. We're in a day and age where civic education is very easily accessible, especially if you're not coming from, mashinani. You know what I mean by mashinani. We're also in a day and age where political leaders are using people who are not very well in terms of civic political education to acquire votes. Our Madam MCA spoke about unajua nani kwa ground. The mama mboga, the boda boda guy. Some of these people have gone to school, and there's also a percentage of these people who don't know what does an MCA do? What does a member of parliament do? Ibarabara ikiharibika, who do you put the blame on? So it is your duty as okay, I'll tell you one thing for free. If your member of county assembly comes to ask for your votes, umuulize as a citizen, what will you do for us? They have the right to answer you. They have the right to tell you that I will build this road, I will do this, I will do this. If they don't do that, you follow up. Unaona, that is where most of us citizens kosea. Our Madam MCA told us, in a public participation forum, you'll find in a constituency, 10 people are the ones showing up. What are you doing? Go there, ask questions, ask them, why are you doing this, why are you doing that? That is vigilance for information, that is vigilance for education, and that is what most of us citizens lack. So that is where your other 50% comes in. The moment you've done your part, you've meshikana with your friends mkasema, today let's go attend this public participation meeting, and they still do not perform, then you shift the blame to them. That's how I'll answer that.
Thank you. The next question? Thank you. We have Emmanuel, then we have Absalom. Let me see. Thank you, Pauline. Another question? We can first of all have the three, and then we are coming there. Your question is directed to the proposition side.
Okay, for me, I don't think we have the same power because they are the ones who are on top. Now, like this scenario whereby tunakuja kuandamana kutetea rights zetu, then they kill us. Now tell me, sasa kati yangu na wewe nani ako na power? Wewe ndio uko na power. Mimi nimekuja kuteta. But mimi hata siwezi kutoa kwa hiyo kiti. Because you have, for one thing, you have money, and you have power, and you have connection. Nitakutoa aji kwa hiyo kiti. Well, leo mimi nimekuweka hapo ufanye kazi, ufanye kazi. So for me, I think we are not on the same level. Because tell me why, ule mama mboga ako pale, ajui kusoma the bill. Amekuweka hapo ndo uelewe that bill, so that you pass the rules for him well. Well, leo utakuja mdanganya mara ya pili. Thank you.
Thank you. Kelsey, you have a comment on the same?
Yes, thank you very much for that question. So I will specifically point to or make reference to the motion of the debate, which talks about the quality of governance. When it comes to determining the quality of something, you look at how good is this thing. So how good is the governance in Kenya? Put the corruption issues aside, the money issues aside. That president, that member of parliament, that governor wouldn't be in power ukiamua. Unaelewa? So in as much as the police will come, or let me just give you a practical example. The 2024 finance bill. So the members of parliament had the power to pass that bill, but did they do it? No, they didn't. Why? Because we, the citizens of Kenya, came together, took to the streets. Yes, we lost some of our souls, and may they rest in peace. But the moment we said no to that bill passing, it wasn't passed. That means you, as a citizen, have the power. You just need to know how to exercise your power. I don't know if I'm answering you.
Thank you. We will still have more time to discuss and engage. Santi, let's appreciate Kelsey. Thank you. We can have Absalom.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
My question starts, in this country, we have 4 classes of citizens, yeah? The first class is people who know they know. Those are our leaders. The second class are people who don't know they know. Those are Gen Zs. And the people who don't know, they don't know. Among us, I know there are people who don't know, they don't know. So, how can we close that gap between leaders and the fellow citizens?
Absalom, which side do you direct the question to?
As in, citizens, they don't read constitution. So our leaders take advantage of the citizen because they don't know. For them, they know everything. So they take advantage of the citizen not knowing what they are doing, what they want. So how can we close that gap between the citizens and the leaders? So that we have that equality you are talking about in leadership and governance.
Abby, you want to take that up?
Well, it first of all takes you as a person to stand up and say, I want to know this. And such forums, I think we are not the only people who do them. We are not the only people who do forums where we come together and talk about where we are as a country, where we are politically, where we are economically. And we are privileged to have an MCA here. So right now, if someone has a question, can't you ask? If you want to ask her, how does this budget approval work? She will be willing to tell us. So first of all, step out and get the curiosity of how does this country work? We are not saying that we are sharing authority. We are saying we are sharing responsibility. The difference between authority and responsibility is, authority means you're wearing the crown. As a king, who, if you look at the monarch system, a king has the authority to rule over the people. So the people are called subjects, right? Right? If we come to the democracy side, we're talking about leaders who are delegated authority to be able to wake up one day and say, I will build a road. I am not given that authority as a citizen, but I am given the responsibility to follow up on someone who has authority to do that activity. So I'd say, for that one person who doesn't understand the Constitution, for that one person who doesn't understand the system and how it works and how it functions and who it affects and who you're supposed to go to, wake up and decide, I want to go to learn. One thing I have learned is people know things. A lot of people have very weird information. And we have potazed the culture of general courtesy of, if I meet Kelsey on the road, I will wave and say hi and maybe chat a bit on something. So maybe I can find someone on the road and say hi, and they will be like, okay, have you heard this? Have you heard this? Have you heard about this? You know, how do you think the Maandamano thing is brought out? We are so lucky. We have the media, we have the social medias. You can just go online and see, kuna maandamano, acha niende, sindio? So taking the initiative and your responsibility as a citizen to stand up and say, I want to learn and I want to know how this thing works, it starts from there. Then attending the political education seminars, attending such gatherings, then it builds on up to that. That's what I'm going to say.
Thank you. Let's appreciate Abigail. Thank you. We will still have more time because our judges are ready. So allow me give Pauline, and we have Pauline, so that our judges now give us the deliberation. Grace had updated us that we'll still be having the plenary session. So Ephraim, Nathan, hold your questions. We will indeed, you will be indeed the first people to also engage in the same. So Pauline, kindly shoot your question, and then I'll hand it over to the judges.
So I don't know, mine is a question or it's a comment. Iko hapo tu towards the proposing side. You've mentioned about responsibility as a citizen, right? So, you know, basing on the facts that you people are giving, on the current situation in our country, I feel like you're talking about following up. You're telling us to follow up, right? I am a common mwananchi. Hata tuseme mimi ni mama mboga pale nje, si ndio? How am I supposed to follow up if you are just sienda direct kwa tuseme kama MCA? Mimi sijuani na MCA. Mimi ni mama mboga pale. Unaniambia ni follow up. Nafaa ku follow up aje if nikienda ku report through the right procedure, itafika point yenye by the time inafikia MCA nothing was done, right? Like point yangu ilipotelea pale katikati haikufikia MCA through the procedure I followed, sindio? And basing on our country right now, kuna gap in generations. Abi, you've said about talking to, like, hi, unapata mtu namwambia, hi, do you know this and this? In the current situation in Kenya, kuna gap in generation. Mimi ni Gen Z, kuna millennials. From sasa home, unajua, if my mom is a millennial, I am a Gen Z, sorry, kuna vitu hatu agree, sindio? Solution yangu ni kwenda maandamano, but nikisema solution yangu ni kwenda maandamano, yeah, naona, that's totally a different thing. I'm trying to be rebellious, sindio? So, story ya kuongeleshana pale nje, tuko na different political ideologies. So how is that supposed to work? Because we're in a country where millennials and Gen Zs are not agreeing. Millennials wana side na government, Gen Zs tunajaribu kujitetea, sindio? Na tukienda kujitetea through like izo rallies and everything, we are being shot dead. Another thing, hata kama una follow up, let's say I have money, and I start following up on the government. It's not easy, because tukiangalia reality, una follow up, kidogo, 1 week later, Pauline was found dead. Kwa nini? She started following up on what the government is doing. So how is that supposed to like be a responsibility if the leaders, ama wenye tunategemea, wanafika point yenye, tukileta issues, hazifiki the right person, zinakuwa declined before zifikie the right person.
Thank you. Let's appreciate Paul. The proposition side, you can make a brief comment on the same,
Okay.
and then we hand it over to the judges.
Okay, thank you. Pauline, I understand you, first of all. And second of all, I want to acknowledge the fact that, unfortunately, our system is broken. Unfortunately. And we can't wake up one day and say that the system is fixed. Sindio? And we have seen death, we have seen kidnappings, a lot of blood has been shed, and I'm pretty sure the last time this much blood was shed is when we were fighting for our independence, right? But unfortunately, even though we are upholding our responsibility, the system is not changing. But that doesn't mean we should sit back now and give up on it. Because I'm not sure if you know, but I think CNN is the one who did a story on the Gen Z protests from last year, and that is how it became a national holiday. That on its own acknowledges the fact that we as citizens are not accepting the rule that we have. And what I'm trying to say is, the only thing we need to do is uphold our responsibility. And unfortunately, some of us who have died. Sindo. So, whether or not, there are two sides here. The side of the citizen, who is upholding the responsibility of following up and keeping the government accountable, but there's also the side of the leaders are not listening. The leaders are not implementing what we want. They're not hearing the voice of the people. So the leaders have taken a path of dictatorship instead of democracy. So we all know there's this thing for one term, right? It appears as a joke, but it's not. People have decided that next year, when we stand up to go vote, this thing ends now. Sindo, it ends, and it has to end. Sindo. So that's all we need to do. Because like I said, they have authority, we have responsibility. So if we do our responsibility before God, before society, we are right. And that is all we need to do. Sawa. And I am sure that there are really good leaders in this government we have. The rotten ones have spoiled so many things when we look at the government. But I'm sure in all this brokenness, there is good in it. And there are people who really want to do the work. So let us not hold back our silence because of the bad ones. Because I know there's a good leader who will listen to their citizens and be like, okay, this road needs to be fixed, I'll fix it. But there's also a bad leader who will say, I'm being paid, that's all I need. So it's a matter of standing up even if it's hard, especially when it's hard. Because there are people who are going to rise up and hear that voice. It doesn't go to vain. So yes, we have the peace that you have fulfilled your responsibility as a citizen. And that is all you need to do, because someone had somewhere.
Thank you. Kelsey?
Okay, very briefly. She asked something about bridging the gap. So I'll tell you one thing. The only way we can bridge this gap that's there, especially in terms of generation, is one, through education. As the youth, we have access to social media. What impact are you making on that platform to educate your neighbor who doesn't understand English and perhaps be able to read the Constitution. During the Finance Bill 2024, we had versions of even Kikuyu, Kikamba. People were translating that finance bill so that that mama mboga who cannot understand English, cannot understand Kikuyu, cannot understand Kiswahili, can be able to comprehend what the finance bill is saying. I will tell you, as a youth, take up that leadership position. Our Madam MCA asked us, how many of you are looking to be leaders? I think we only had one person. She said, I don't know if you can remember this, if you want to create change, it's easier to do it from the inside. Take up that leadership position. The people you know, your neighbors, your community, those are the people who are going to push you to that position. Be the one MCA who is giving speeches in Kikamba, giving speeches in Kikuyu, to make sure that person who's not gone to school understands. That's the only way you can bridge the gap. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's appreciate them once again. Thank you so much. And now at this point, and you can be sure I have still noted all those who have questions, and Grace will ensure that no one goes home with their questions unanswered. So it's now a high time that I welcome the judges to give their remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, moderator. Good afternoon. So, karibuni IBC, Form 34A iko hapa. So, maybe before I start, just to guide on how we have done this, of course, it's a form we have used. We are looking at several, actually 4 criteria. One, information, the rebuttal, how you're able to counter your argument, the organization, and understanding of the topic. So both teams have performed well, but as judges, we have, of course, to rate. And I will start, Niaza Nagani, the best. Anyway, so we had Team Abby and Team Kelsey and Abby, and Team Jackson and Victoria. So Team Kelsey and Abby, you scored 13 points out of 20.
Let's appreciate them.
And Team Jackson and Victoria scored 16 points out of 20. So I'll give a general observation of what we have discussed. I'll start with Team Abby. Your presentation was quite good. The ideologies, all the ideas you gave, they were so practical. However, you're not persuasive enough. That was our observation. And then you were not able to counter whatever the opposition team was able to raise, where you found a weak point. And we also noted during the plenary session we have had, you are now joining the opposition. That's how you're arguing. So maybe you need to be a bit organized in the next session. When you come to the Team Jackson, on presentation, you can do better. Quite persuasive. You really persuaded us. And very good in counter whatever they have said. The closing remarks was quite remarkable. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Let's appreciate them once again. And these wonderful ladies and the gentlemen, you can be sure that the courage that it took and the preparation, and this is wonderful because they are also setting the pace whereby the youth go onto the platforms and all platforms to ensure that we are also, our voices are also heard. And thank you for our judges for such kind of the remarks you've given, and to ensure that also we are raising the issues that we have seen on the floor for the sake of improvement also for the next time. And now today, whether we agree with the motion or not, there is one lesson that stands out for each and every one of us, that good governance is not built by leaders alone, nor by citizens alone. Leaders must lead with integrity, competence, and accountability. Citizens must participate responsibly, stay informed, uphold values, and hold leaders accountable. So as young people, we are not merely future leaders, we are present day citizens with the power to influence our communities and our nation, and that has come out well from the proposition side. So may today's discussion inspire us to be active citizens, ethical leaders, and faithful stewards of the society God has entrusted to us. Tubarikiwe sana, even as we appreciate our debaters as they sit down. Thank you so much. Great. And now at this point, ladies and gentlemen, also for our judges, but you can still continue if staying there. But we appreciate that. So at this point, I will now welcome Eve. Nataka tukaribishe Eve kwa makofi mazuri, and she will take us through the next session, which is a panel discussion. She will give us more details on the same. Karibu Eve.
Good afternoon. I know I'm standing in the gap between you and some food, right? So we are going to make this painless and not too long, okay? So we are going to have a panel discussion, and I want to welcome my panelists. Please have a seat. Then we shall have just a brief introduction of the panel, and we are going to do it in a fun way. Panelists, karibuni. Where are the young people? I want to see representation from the young people. Great. Is that it? I was hoping to have a lady Gen Z also, but we shall start. So this is how we are going to introduce ourselves, my panelists. You shall introduce yourself first by, of course, telling us your name and the function you're representing there. So for instance, if it's the youth, male youth, like that. And then you will tell us whether you have participated in any public participation. And then you will tell us if you were to write a book or a song today out of this discussion, what would be the title? Let me start by introducing myself so that you get the drift, okay? So my name is Modoni. I'm a lawyer. I'm a member of this church. I also sit in the JPRC committee, which means Justice, Peace, Reconciliation, and Conciliation. And I am also involved in mentoring the youth under the JAM Justice. Have I participated in any public participation? Yes, one. If I was to write a book today, this very moment, the title would be Inawezekana. So our introduction should follow that format. Tumeelewana? I know you've just come. I'm saying we introduce ourselves in a fun way. You'll tell us who you are. Yes, a fun way. Who you are, your name, what you're representing in this sitting, say male or female Gen Z. And then you'll tell us whether you have participated in a public participation, the truth. And then you will tell us if you were to write a book today, this very moment, out of the discussions we've been having here today, what would be the title? So let us start from here.
From here. Is it afternoon? Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Abigail Onjiko Kafue, and I am female, Gen Z, but I think I have some millennial behaviors. Have I ever attended a public participation? Genuinely, I have not.
Thank you for the truth.
Thank you. Yes, I have not, though I would recommend also for me to attend. What else?
If you were to write a book,
if I was to
or
write
a song,
a book or a song, what would the title be? I think the title would be
Zero judgment. So
okay. I think the title would be One Voice, one people, because I think what most people don't understand is just generally being a Kenyan is one similarity we have as everyone. Even if I haven't started paying taxes, I will start paying taxes eventually. But she has, probably you have, right? Yes. So,
Thank you.
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So when you give me the title to your book or song, don't explain it. Just one word.
Yes. Nimezoea good morning. Good afternoon. My name is Grace Naiserian. I work with Mzalendo Trust. Public participation. I have attended many public participation forums and will be happy to
Nice.
share more about it on how you can also participate. If I'm to have my song title will be based on the Constitution of Kenya, the preamble, We the People. Yes.
Nice one.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Ian, if today I was to write a book, I would write about appreciation, generation change. I've not attended many forums so far, but I always listen to them. So I appreciate
Thank you.
having this moment with you.
Yeah.
Hi, afternoon. Name Grace Bahati. The political name known it's Zora, MCA Cheleni Ward, Matungulu constituency, Machakos County, elected as an independent. And if I was to write a book about today, it will be Power to the People.
Power.
Yeah, Furi Edward. I have participated in public participation.
Yay.
And I am actually presently writing a book. And that book is called Morality Matters.
Nice one.
Hi, my name is Victoria Kendi. I have done public participation physically and also online too. If I was to write a book, probably sustained resistance. I think this government needs sustained resistance. Yeah, I don't know anything else I've forgotten. Yeah, just that.
Hi everyone, my name is Maureen Dongo, and yeah, I've participated through surveys because they're also part of public participation. So through surveys I've participated, and if I was to write a book, it will be The Tears of a Generation. Yeah.
Amazing. So I want us to set some basic ground rules for our panel discussion today. One, let us observe time. Don't, extend the time I give you. Mimi ndio niko kwa kiti. Then this is not a political campaign. Hapa ni safe space. So let's keep focus on the objective. We shall maintain civility. I think we have done that throughout the entire session. We avoid inflammatory language, hate speech, offensive remarks. See, we know how that goes. And then we are going to respect diversity in the answers we are going to have. So, I want us to start our session with some questions, and I want to direct these questions to the Gen Zs, both male and female. Kenya has 3 levels of governance. We have the national, the county, and at the ward level, that is where we have the MCAs. As a young person sitting here today, can you honestly say that you know what an MCA does? And don't give me a yes/no answer. Tell me, what do you know that an MCA does? And do you actually know who your MCA is? I want to direct this question to our Gen Zs here. Abi wenda uko na mic, so wenda utaanza. Okay, let's start.
Well, according to social studies or history, I know that an MCA represents a ward. That's what I know. That's the much I know. I will say I don't know so much because the constitution is so large, so even reading it is kind of tiresome, so someone needs to break that down. To be honest, I don't know who the MCA of Mavoka is, yeah.
Maybe we can hear from the gentleman also. Ian?
Something I can comment.
Kazi MCA. Unajua
Kazi
kazi
MCA.
MCA.
Kazi MCA ni present the ground to the governor. So what we people don't understand is the channel to get there. Because when it was broken down from the council time, getting there, you know, people don't really understand where to get that place. They don't have the education, so people need to get educated about how to get to that place.
That's a good, honest answer. And Madam MCA, I think you have listened to those answers. And I would like to direct this question to you. In very simple terms, what is the role and mandate of an MCA? And what can a young person sitting here today, like you have had, what can they come to you for? Where can they come to you for that thing? And what are the matters that are outside your hands?
Okay. For one, role number one is to understand in your county, how many wards do you have? For instance, here, it's a vocal constituency where the area member of parliament is Macau, and we have 4 wards. Do you know that? Yeah, we don't have a ward called Mavoko. Yeah, we have Adi River ward. We have Mlolongo Syokimau ward. That's 1 ward, okay? Mlolongo Syokimau ward. That's how it's called. And then we have Kenani ward, where Mavo pale tunapiganga kona pale makutano ndo ingie Macha. That's the entire area of Kenani. And then we have Modhwani. Modhwani ward, it's Joska uko kwote. So that constitutes your constituency, ya Mavoko. So that's number one, you need to understand your ward. Number 2, the works of an MCA is to legislate, represent, and to oversight. MCAs do not have ward kitty. The way you say MPs have CDF, MCAs have 0. The only thing that we get is the salary we are paid. Are we together up to there? We do not have, and this is a thing I keep on telling young people, hata kama nini constitution ni kubwa, ChatGPT actually can outline that for you. You just Google, ChatGPT will give it to you instantly. So we do not. Our work is, for instance, if you are my ward, I'll come here, you tell me, MCA, there's a problem in this water borehole, we have a problem with the road, we have issues, you know, market, we need a toilet in this market and all that. I will collect that, and then during public participation, I'll make sure that I come, we analyze that, we see, is this a need in this area? Out of the 10 needs, how many top 3 or top 5? We agree as a community, these are the top 5s. So once we do that, we go, what I told you, we have a CIDP, and then we have an ADP. So all the CIDP and ADP, what it just means, it means we include the needs of the people, and then we go and budget for them. Just the way you'll tell your mom or your parent, I need shoes, I need a bag, I need to go to the salon and all that, and probably they'll give you a pocket, they'll give you money, like this 10,000. So then you're able to allocate this X amount of money, I'll buy shoes for this X amount of money, I'll go to the salon and all that. So the same case. So once the community tells us that, we take it back to the assembly. So once we take to the assembly, the executive, this is the other thing people need to understand. The office of the governor, it's not the office of the MCAs. Just the way we have Ruto akiwa State House, ndivyo pia tuko na governors wako na ofisi yao, MCAs wako kwa assembly. Venye tu Ruto wako State House, ma MP wako wapi? Kwa National Assembly. Those are 2 arms that they do not mix. Venye tunazusha tunasema ma MPs wamenunuliwa, hivyo ndio tukupia ma MCAs wanaweza nunuliwa. So the thing is, once the budget is done, we come and check. Okay, kwa area yangu tulikuwa tumesema kukuwe na boreholes 4. Governor akiniletea hiyo budget, naangalia alieka boreholes zangu zote 4. Alieka barabara A to barabara B, imekwa how much money? Alieka choo kwa hii soko, hii choo imewekwa pesa ngapi? So naangalia zile needs nilipewa kwa community, naangalia zote ziko hapo na pesa zimewekwa. Alafu akituletea kwa budget, tunapitisha. Kama saa hii sisi county assembly tunaendelea kudiscuss hiyo budget. Tuko like zile vitu zote kwa wards zetu zilikuwa zimewekwa. So once tumepitisha hiyo budget, governor anapewa pesa kutoka kwa treasury. Anatumiwa Machakos County, anakuja na withdraw ile pesa ndio aweze kufanyisha kazi. Sasa na mimi ndio hapo nakuja tena kama MCA kuangalia hiyo governor, nilikupatia pesa ya borehole 4. Ziko wapi hizo borehole? Kama ziko kwa ground, it's my right as an MCA to demand you are given that money, hiyo pesa iko wapi? Kama ni barabara A to barabara B, whatever, governor, tulikupatia 20 million na hii barabara, ziko wapi? Sasa hapo ndo tunakujanga kama MCAs. And MCAs, it's our work to make the noise. The governor, are you delivering to the people? So if you're not delivering to the people, then where is the money? Because if the money is not in the account, inafaa kuonyeshana ilifanya kazi. Na kama hiyo kazi haifanyiki na pesa iko, I have the right to ask, where is the money? Because you need to show me either or. Money either ikuwe kwa account, ama project kumefanywa kwa ground. So hizo ndio. Alafu the other thing ni kupitisha policies. Sasa zile mnasikianga Kanjo imeongeza pesa, ni MCA wanakuanga wamefanya nini? Wamepitisha. Sawa sawa?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So
Thank you for that insight.
That's the policy making. Sasa zile mnasikia venye tu mnasema MPs, kuna kwenye tunashinda tukizusha kuhusu finance bill yenye tulikuwa tumesema reject. MPs walipass because once policy imepitishwa na MPs lazima it happen. The same case na kwa MCA, but sasa this is the catch that comes in. Pale kwa assemblies lazima kukuwe na numbers. Sawa sawa. So for instance in Machakos County we have 40 of us elected, but we have 20 nominated. So we are 60 of us. So if kama governor kuna policy amelete anataka let's say kuongezea revenues, tuko like hii revenue tukiongezea zaidi hapo tunaumiza watu wa Machakos. So what we do, tunakuja tuna lobby hapo, no guys, do you think this policy inasaidia watu? So we'll do the numbers, then tukuja kwa the house, now we have to vote. So out of 60, of course it's about the majority. So kama watu 31 wa vote, ita go through.
I think we are getting the gist, right?
Umeweza kushika
very nice.
Pale inakuanga ni kupiga kura. By the sisi hatukaangi tu ati nini, no, lazima tupige kura. So kawaida kuna kuanga wale pro government na kuna wale pro people. Just the same kuna kwa National Assembly. Kuna ma-MP wanawatetea na kuna ma-MP hawafanyi nini? Hawatetei. It's the same case pale kwa county assemblies. So hapo ndo tunakujanga tuna vote. Sawa, hii inasaidia wananchi, sawa, hiyo tutavote. Kama kuna watu wanaipinga, so it's about the number. So wakipiga you go through, mnakubali mumeshindwa.
Thank you for that. I'll cut you short.
So
we will continue with the discussion on other questions. And you have spoken about numbers, and you have spoken about whether the MPs, the MCAs, what functions they are doing and how accountable they are. And I would like to ask them, Mzalendo, from your experience leading civic programs, and I know you have mentioned that this is the first program you are doing inside a church. How do ordinary Kenyans rate, especially the youth, actually understand, how do they understand how government works, and what gap have you identified most?
Thank you. Thank you very much for your question. There's someone who spoke and really questioned about the information gap. And I just want to relate it to you. So we as Mzalendo, we do quite a number of programs on civic education. And very many young people are interested. See, everyone here is very interested in hearing about governance issues. Sijaona mtu amelala. Si kila mtu hapa ako interested. So we do have a very keen interest. Our biggest problem is information. And in information, it is not only just about access, but it is also understanding that information. So I might have access to that information. For example, if there is a certain legislation in Parliament, where Parliament will publish a bill, waeke finance bill, right? So you have the finance bill, but not everyone understands how the legal language has been drafted. Then beyond that, beyond understanding, the other issue that very many young people have, they don't understand the roles of specific leaders. That's why today when we came, we started by doing that quiz to ensure that at least someone knows the role of an MCA, the role of an MP, the role of a senator, and so on and so forth. And then because we don't understand their roles, we expect them to perform duties outside their constitutional mandate. You will call your MCA and ask for a bursary, which is not their role. You will call your governor and complain about a certain high school, yet education is a function, high schools is a function of the Ministry of Education. So that is the biggest gap that we have seen. It's not interest, it's access to information, access to accurate information, and access to information that is easily understood by the common mwananchi. Yes.
Very interesting. And just as a follow-up, I would like to ask the young ones in the house, do you know where to access information relating to governance? Abby, do you know any forums or where do you access this information, if at all? GPT maybe? I don't know.
I don't know. I'd probably ChatGPT or something. Yeah.
Do you have a different view? Where would you access this information? Where do you access this information? My panelists, number 1 and number 2.
Oh, from Google.
Google?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think also specific websites like maybe the judiciary portal, etc. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's interesting to see what you're talking about, that access to this information is very rare. And now I want to direct my question to our Rev. You know, the church has been accused of, sticking its neck under the sand and hiding there on matters politics. And yet, I think the Bible has very interesting political figures. If, for lack of another word, we had the Josephs, the Daniels, John the Baptist, who criticized the politics of that time. So how can the church work with government and civil society while at the same time maintaining independence and promoting accountability in leadership, helping the citizens understand their civil responsibilities?
Well, that's a heavy sentence, but you're right about the Bible and politics, because the Bible is really about a kingdom already. So the fact that when we say that in our Lord's Prayer, may your kingdom come, we are already implying that there is a kingdom that even God himself desires be seen. So the church is directly involved in kingdom building. Now there's a big, just a slight difference between God's kingdom and the earthly kingdom, in that God's kingdom or the earthly kingdoms report to the godly kingdom. The kingdom of God is supposed to take all these kingdoms together into, that's why God is called the King of Kings, right? So there is that distinction there, that the kingdom of God is not just one of the other kingdoms. It's supposed to cover, or all other kingdoms are supposed to align to the kingdom of God. That's just to say. And then how does the church work with the government? Well, the church works with the government because they are united in one thing: bringing abundant life to the people. So the focus of unity is to improve the lives of the people. And so anything that the government is doing that inspires the good of the people, then if those, to that extent, then the church is supposed to support that. Also, say that the church has 2 dimensions. The church forms a community in 2 ways. Because even the kings come to the church. The queens come to the church. The princes come to the church. One dimension in which the church serves is by forming those people, such that if you're a king, you're a president, you're a member of parliament, you're a senator, you're an MCA, you come to church, you're supposed to leave having been empowered. But how empowered? Empowered in that keep doing what is good because it is godly. You know, like Jesus, wherever he went, he did that which is good. So the church forms the spirit. The church forms the philosophy of the people. Second is that the church also runs exemplary institutions, right? So that it just builds, it does not only build philosophy or ways of thinking, it also builds exemplary institutions. Not just institutions, but exemplary ones. For instance, some of the best schools in this country are built by the church. Some of the best universities in this country are built by the church. Some of the best hospitals in this country, inaccessible ones, are built by the church. So the church has a philosophy side and also an institutional side. Also the places that are neglected or the government cannot be able to reach, you find the church there. You know, before you can go to places like northeastern, places that are far off, and you ask yourself, I mean, how does this place run? Only to find, well, you know, you find the church there. Now, when it comes to the institutions, they are also institutions that are like-minded. They actually are inspired by the church in their work. You will go to a place and say, like institutionally, you'll find something like World Vision, for instance. In those very wonderful work they do, exemplary, inspired by the spirit of the church. And many other institutions I can mention that form real institutions inspired by the church. But also the church also has institutions that form the spirit and the philosophy of the community. Like now, Mzalendo. Mzalendo forms the spirit of the people. And here we are together forming the spirit of the people. So, yeah.
Thank you. And having spoken about deriving inspiration, you know, from the church, I would like to ask all the other panelists to just tell me, in just briefly, in one word each, what biblical values do you think should be the most relevant for public leaders? Yeah, just everyone to give just one.
Wisdom.
Wisdom.
You know, in church, when you go to church, you get trust and hope. So I think that, you know, in the villages, interior villages, you can get the church there. So there should be the channel that gives those people civic education on how to vote in a positive way, because when you go to church, you have a person to listen to you. There is trust and hope.
Okay. I gather communication from you.
For me, it would be humility.
Humility.
Selflessness.
Selflessness.
Integrity.
Integrity. So you've heard, when you're listening to your politicians wakipeana sera zao, please look for those values. Now, I want us to talk about money and politics. Let's be honest. In Kenya today, politicians are often judged by how much they give. True? You know, in Harambee contributions, school fees, funeral donations. Do you think this is genuine community service, or is it just buying votes? Does it even matter? Which is which? I would like to hear from every person here. What do you think? Is it community service? Is it buying votes? Does it matter?
Personally, I would say that people are different. So you'd find that there are people who are actually doing it for community service because they are being led by integrity. But the ones without integrity, they're doing it for votes. So it depends. We cannot justify and say that it's specifically for a particular reason, because different people, different values, and yeah.
Interesting.
I think also society has set a certain metric to view as a leader. So at the point in time where you don't have cash or money or resources to offer the society, then we particularly maybe view you as like a leader that's not going to be able to particularly maybe push forward what we want. So I think also maybe if we didn't have that metric based on money, then I think other leaders without maybe cash will be able to push push forth maybe their incentives without having to feel the burden of offering something. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let me come from the point of scripture that says you cannot serve both God and money. So there is money that comes from God, and there is money that is a God. And we find that there are people who have a history, whether even before they were politicians, who had a record of supporting the church. And that's okay. So we have a history around their participation. But when it comes to money and politics and the church as things are now, and this is a personal opinion, I see more mammon. I see people giving money to push for them, specifically votes. And to that extent, I see people who no longer quite trust God to give them positions and authority, but they trust the God, Mammon, to push for them things that are, positions and those opportunities. So we find people coming to God's house with a God.
I think that's an interesting analogy because it talks about sanitizing. You know how the church has been accused of sanitizing the politicians. Sindio hiyo?
For me, it's important even for lecturers to understand when a politician is doing the works with the government money, that's not charity. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, so if, let's say, if it's an MP or it's a governor or the president, because those are the people only out of the constitution or out of the 6 ballots, the governor, the MP, and the president are the ones who have funds to do projects. So when they're doing these projects, they're not doing you a favor or a charity. They're doing what they are mandated to do. If I buy you lunch, then that's, quote unquote, I'll say that's charity that I'm doing. Or if it's I've come, let's say for instance, Mzalendo, maybe they have a project they're doing of digging boreholes, then that will say it's a charity, I've come with an organization to come and do it, because that's not, it's not your funds, it's not the government funds. But if, as a politician, the work I'm mandated to do, I'm supposed to do, we should not be clapping and celebrating them as if it's money coming from their own pocket. So that's the difference we need to start understanding as electorates. And then the second thing, of course, campaigns are very expensive. Kenyans' campaigns are so expensive. What I would spend in my ward, it's not what your area MCA here in Mavoko will spend here in Mlolongo, Syokimau, especially the wards that are within CBDs or within towns. It's very expensive, 2 different things. So, and the reality is this, I will not stashinda na watu the whole day na nikose kumlipa mtu wa boda anizungushe. I'll need to fuel, lazima nikomboe hiyo boda, because kama singekuwa na yeye angekuwa mtaani akitafuta. So you have to pay that person to move me around. Na kama nimeshinda, let's say na 10 of you guys, nda make sure mmekula lunch, nda make sure mmekunywa maji. So it's a tricky balance, but as in the reality is campaigns are very expensive, and especially in Kenya, they're very, very expensive.
Thank you for that answer, and I think it brings out the question of transactional politics. So that when the leaders are out here telling us, leo nimeleta hii mchango, you need to distinguish between, is that public funds or is that his own individual contribution? Thank you. Let's hear from the gentleman.
What I think our society support system is that you have to give someone something to get back. If I told you want to send someone to a cafeteria house idea, it needs something. If you need to send your child something, kababa, ntakubaiya sweetie. So, at the end of the time, the mind has become corrupt. So, what do you expect? Money. our support system has become so corrupt with handouts. So I think that is the genesis of all problems.
Okay. You hear what he says? Corruption imeingia kwa handouts. So it is eating us down kabisa. Eh? So let's be careful.
Okay, I'll just maybe pick a little bit on what Rev said. In African communities, giving is part of our culture. We look at, we come together as Africans, we contribute for funerals, hospitals, building of schools, and so forth. And there's this Ubuntu, I am because we are. So that is the premise of, I think, giving or donating in church. But now the complication comes in, or the tension comes in, if I am a leader and I come and I contribute, let's say, 10 million in church, for example, what is the expectation of that money that I contribute? Will the expectation be that this congregation will wholly support my cause? Will they question me? Will it undermine accountability? Or can I then donate or give to the church and there is no connotation of is it bribery, is it supporting my cause, is it not questioning, is it complete loyalty? So it's a very thin and delicate line, but I will still say we should not accept money in churches from the politicians. Yes.
Umesikia hiyo?
What I'd like to say is generally, not even only for politicians, but all of us, when we're giving to Christ, what is our heart in it? You will find a lot of giving can sometimes turn to a showcase of strength, of power, of how deep do my pockets run. And you'd find genuine people who are giving back to Christ for what he has done for them, genuinely. But there are also people who come to showcase, I am well able to give this amount of money. And I think it requires a lot of discernment to realize that this is genuine giving and this is a showcase. And there's usual red flags of nitakuja niseme nimeleta 10 million hapa. But think about a case where a leader has come, sat through a congregation, and someone was giving a testimony, let's say, for example, of they were looking to be funded to go to school, and the church came together and funded them, and now they are able to go to school for 1 semester. And then this leader was in this congregation, and they decide, okay, how about I fund your next semester? See, Christ's service or giving is not only coming to the altar and giving, it's also extending that love and that grace to other people. So that leader is giving back to Christ by helping a child from the church to pay for, let's say, their next semester's school
fees.
Yeah.
I hear you. And having had those answers, I want to ask, and because we are here today to speak to the youth, I want to hear from the youth. If today a politician gives you something, food, transport, money, kazi, do you feel obligated to support them? How do you separate that gratitude from accountability? No judgment?
Well, for me, I don't feel obligated at all, because when they came to me first, they wanted to support me. So it doesn't necessarily mean that they expect me to support them. So I won't support them just because they supported me this time round. And in fact, if they're doing the wrong, I will stand and I will say, okay, why is it like this? But another problem comes in is we're in a generation where when you speak kidogo, you're muted. And it's so wrong because it shows lack of integrity. Yeah.
I would like to hear from someone else. The youth.
Well, I think when most of us Gen Zs speak, to be honest, we speak from a point of privilege. Like, you've gotten money, you're not gonna do anything with it, you're not gonna. But when you look at, to be honest, most people that are coming from the bottom machinani places, these people need the money. They need a guaranteed leader that's gonna come give them that 5,000 all the time. So I think when some people do take the money, it's not usually like, I'm taking the money because this person is a good leader, but it's from a point of necessity, it's a point from need, right? So we also need to recognize that. It might not essentially be ethical, but like when you're in a survival mode where you don't have lunch, you don't have shoes, you don't have water, to some degree you're also pushed to think about your best interest. So for people that do that, let's not blame them too much, because I think we do speak also from a point of privilege. Yeah.
Ian, hebu tuambie. Politician akikupatia job leo, utamsupport?
Let me ask one question. When our politicians gives you money, what do you expect?
Tell us.
Obvious. Something from you. Yeah? It's you to make your decision, but you cannot have a person giving you something and he needs something from you. So he's expecting a favor from you. It's that he cannot just get it just like that. It's a bribe.
I hope we shall remember those insights. It's a bribe, guys. So when they give you those jobs, that money, it doesn't mean that because they've given it to you, you must support them. Remember those values we talked about. Remember those values. Now, I want to direct this to our MCA. You know, we often hear leaders say that they are born again. You know, when they come to church, they will make that declaration and that they fear God. But we also see most of them, or some of them, implicated in corruption, tribalism, and all manner of things, you know, neglecting the poor and the vulnerable. How do you reconcile that faith language in leadership with the conduct that we've been observing?
Sure. One of the things, like I think during the debate, there's one of them who mentioned we do have leaders who are of integrity. They are leaders that you know they are they're no nonsense leaders. They'll be very straight to the point. They'll tell you, this is what I do, this is A, B, C, D. I've seen leaders turn down contracts. And during the finance bill and all that, I saw leaders, some of them being called to be given contracts worth $1 billion, and they literally turned it down. I mean, if you are given $1 billion Kenyan shillings, that will, you transform your family, like as in it's a business that you rarely get. And there were leaders who actually turned them down. So, of course, you know, pia tukosangi from the Bible, utakosa kuona ka fox kwa kondoo mahali kamejificha, kamevalia ngozi ya kondoo, wako wengi. But it's very important also, we get to pray for God's wisdom, yeah? To get to reveal to us the true leaders who are genuinely coming in the name of God, and genuinely they're coming in the name of God and not the opposite. But also it's very important also to understand politics is very dirty, extremely dirty. Such leaders unapatangwa wamekewa scandals zenye ya ukweli. Sasa wenye tuko hapo ndani tunajua bedhi msi amekelewa isi yake. Na hiyo ndio important, tuanze kujua roles za waheshimiwa. Let's say for instance, unaweza sikia kuna probably unaweza sikia kuna scandal imetokezea kwa ofisi ya MP. MPs, that as much as wako na CDF kitty, they are patrons. In fact, they don't sign a single check. Because kuna committee yenye iko hapo. So unaweza pata yes, ako genuinely anataka kusaidia, but kwa hiyo committee yake, kuna msee mmoja hapo, me have seen most of the MPs even fire some of the office managers and all that, because wali realize msee anamwaribia jina, because yeye anatry kuiba pesa ama ku mismanage the bursaries and all that. So it's important, even as we try to cast a stone, before you just see, because our social media and media lies and kuharibia watu jina travels so fast before even the truth inajulikana. So it's good also to be checking before you cast the stone. If it's true it's the leader, then call them out. But if kama kuna mse ako hapo anda yeye anatry kumwekelea, it's very good. So it's a very tricky balance, but like I said, we pray to God to reveal to us genuine leaders who are coming in the name of God, and they're genuinely coming in such way. Yeah.
I think importantly, you've spoken about praying for wisdom, and it's not just these political leaders praying for their wisdom, but I think even we as a church, we have to take up that responsibility to pray for wisdom to them. And I would like to ask Rev, the scripture calls believers to, seek the welfare of the city and to do justice, love, mercy, and walk humbly. In your view, what is the church's specific role in holding these leaders accountable? And do you think the church in Kenya is really fulfilling that role?
Accountable is at two levels. The accountable that we talk about the most is the one when they've already bolted, like when they've already done things that are not right, and then we are trying to tell them, come to your senses, which is our role. If there's a lot of this, if you pass a bill that taxes the people and overtaxes them rather, then the bill is passed. So what's our role? Our role then is to keep telling them, please don't stay on that path, right? So, and it's not just speaking to them, because the church doesn't just speak to them, it is coming from Scripture. The Scripture says, this leadership you've gotten has come from God, and therefore you must be accountable, not to the church, priest, but to God. Is what you're doing glorifying God? Do you think God is happy with what you've done? So our call to accountability is based on the Scripture. That's one. When they've bolted, we'll call them back together. That's why you find when there are many incidents, like now there was a Gen Z protest and people were killed, you find politicians come together, the church gathers people together for repentance, for reconciliation, for hope, right? That's when they've already bolted. But before that, there's that daily formation. Like, let's take the example of our MCA here today. I would ask myself, does she live here like feeling encouraged that she can do good and it's okay? You get? So we're not talking about whether she's bolted or not, but just as a person, does she leave this place feeling, yenyewe, I'm fired to do good, for good's sake? So there are two levels of accountability. When they've bolted, the reconciling, and also on a neutral day to empower them to do good from the Scriptures. There was something else you asked.
Do you think the church in Kenya today has taken up that role?
I feel more than before, I'm optimistic that the church is doing better than before. And the way you know it is when the system sends goons to a church. Yeah. That's when you know that something is happening. Yeah. Goons don't go anywhere. Like, they are sent. It's a whole machinery. And there are people who do that. So when you see goons sent, just know, church, you're doing something. So when you see canisters in different places, just know church is doing something. And the one for All Saints, let me just say that it's very unique, because the All Saints goons were not sent to a church service. They were sent to a public participation forum. It was a knowledge dispensing forum. And then it was scattered, meaning that maybe some people felt, church ikienda hapo, as we were talking with the MCA, church ikienda hivi, it will give people knowledge that the system doesn't think the people should have. Or if the church keeps on that way, this is forum 1. Chances are they'll have forum 2, and they'll have forum 3. And before long, we have county forums. And the system doesn't like that. So I think we're doing better than before.
Yeah. Can I add on that? What Pastor is actually is very important. Like, even us as politicians, one of the things I've realized, we need to be prayed for the fear of the Lord. Because once someone has the fear of the Lord, hata kama hajaokoka. Kuna kitu tu, like we are spirit, you know, us as human, we are spirit. Irregardless, hata kama hujaokoka, kuna kitu tu itakuwa inakuambia, conscious tu, ni conscious kwa mtu, lakini it's actually the spirit speaking to you, inakuambia usiibe hii pesa, do this and this for the sake of people. And that you said, being empowered. There's sometimes leaders who feel, because it's a system that is very broken, and you find out of, let's say, 100, you are like 20 of you. And sometimes it can be very overwhelming to a point where you just need to go to church, to be given the knowledge, to be prayed for, to be empowered, so that when you leave, you actually feel, yes, we are 20 of us, but then we have the Holy Spirit and God backing us. Yeah. So it's very important, and most of the time, personally, that's where I I actually derive the strength to keep on pushing, which is very important.
Amazing. And I like that perspective that Rev has brought in, that accountability is to God. The millennials who are here, we used to wear a wristband. Ilikuwa imeandikwa WWJD. It used to mean, what would Jesus do? And it would be a nice hashtag to ask the political leaders, even as they are doing what they are doing, what would Jesus do? Now, I would like to ask Mzalendo, the issue of the Gen Z protest has been spoken about. And it showed that young people can move governments. But sometimes these movements can be co-opted or misled, or they can fade without a lasting change. Looking back at what happened, do you think the youth got it right? What should have been done differently?
Thank you. That's a very technical, good, interesting question that it's quite interesting, and I appreciate it. So to answer you, I feel like it was a moment of hope for the entire country, because young people demonstrated that civic participation does not begin or end with the elections, that there is something else beyond the voting. After you vote, that's not the end of everything. And then they also showed the power of collective action, digital mobilization, issue-based engagement, but even beyond that, the empathy, the humanity that we saw, and how they contributed. You remember Hanifa's pay bill, where they contributed to protesters who were hurt. So I think it was a rallying call for the entire country, and it was something that I don't think anyone will forget anytime soon. I think where I wouldn't say the movement exactly failed, I will say the biggest challenge has been having sustained momentum, because you need to move beyond the protest to now long-term civic action. So that linkage is where I've seen a little bit of a weakness in. How do you sustain momentum in the long term? That it's not that every situation that we do need to end up going to only protesting once and then going back home. How do we move beyond that? And I saw so many things that were good, like the translation of the bills, the finance bill. I saw the change in the fundraising. Typically how politicians fundraise in Kenya, their friends come and they give you 100 million and then you campaign. But here you're seeing people campaigning, fundraising for Hanifa, people giving as little as 30 shillings, 10 shillings. That changed, and that showed that we can also reclaim our space and we can rebuild public trust as a country. We don't have to wait for the political class. So I think for me, the biggest takeaway is how do we sustain long-term engagement beyond the protests?
I think the message to the young people here is inawezekana. So guys, don't fade out. Bado inawezekana. And I just want to ask the young panelist here. Young people are often told, wait for your turn. You're not ready yet. Maliza kusoma kwanza. And I'm sure even the MCA, I'm sure you have faced those issues out there. So I want to ask the young panelists, do you believe your generation is ready to lead? And what would you need? What is the one thing you would need to get there?
Yes, I feel our generation is ready to lead. And if there's one thing I can say for sure, will be that we need support from the other generations, because there's no connection at this point. If you find activists from the other generation, there are very few. There are very few who appear when people are being hurt and, you know, the Generation Z is taking part in all of this change and everything. It's very few. And then, you see, one question we are usually asked, especially after the protest, ulikuwa unaenda huko kufanya nini? You see, of course, there is no support because sasa, and then look at it this way. Imagine you made it back home, your friend didn't make it back home. Your friend posted on social media, the next day your friend is not there. So you see there is no support at all. There is no support over there. And there is the fear that is being fed to us. We're being told, wait a bit, you cannot speak. There are people who are in charge, you cannot speak. So kind of it builds that fear that we cannot speak for ourselves at this particular point, but it is doable. We are able to lead this generation as we are without finances. So long as we have God, and God is the one who gives us wisdom. He's the one who gives us integrity. And we have the Holy Spirit. We can make the change. Yeah.
Hallelujah. Amen, young people. See you ready.
Yeah, because you can see even from the Bible story, we saw Deborah, we saw Jabez, we saw King Nehemiah rebuild the walls, right? But it was not by their own strength, it was by God. And then for me, if there is one thing I believe, is that God is able to raise a generation that can lead this country of Kenya. Yeah.
Thank you. Ian, unaonaje? Mko tayari?
Unajua sasa kitu yenye mimi naona at my mind unaona kuna watu bado mpaka wa leo ukimpelekea unga na in the village uko ndani hataweza kuelewa zile policies zinafaa kupasa. Unaona? What channel itawezaje kuwafikisha waelewe what should happen, si kuletwa tu unga t-shirt avae.
Na so wewe kama youth uko tayari kuleta hiyo change? Na kama uko tayari, ni nini unahitaji kupewa ndio ikuwezeshe kuleta hiyo change?
Sasa unacheki kuna mtu place kayo ni kwenda personally. Juu mtu kayo kumwambia ingia kwa YouTube, mtu wako pale Turkana huko ndani, kumwambia hata simu pengine ana. Yani kwamba akiona huyo mtu wa kuvote ida siku anakuja tu once or twice, ameona mtu mara mbili, hiyo siku amekuja na unga, that's the person. Kwa hivyo yani kumekuwa tuelewe yani inside transition of mental thinking ndio inaleta shida. Jukaa sasa vyenye madhangu anafikiria na mimi vyenye nafikiria si vyenye demka huyo anafikiria. We are on different core thinking.
Interesting. So yeye anasema akipatiwa uwezo ya kwenda kwa ground ata make it. Si ndio? Now I want to ask Mzalendo. You know, Mzalendo exists to track what our elected leaders say and what they do. Si kuna hiyo tracker mko nayo. But civic tracking only works if citizens demand results. What is the one specific thing a young Kenyan, you know, in this room or listening today can do, starting this week, to hold their civic leaders accountable?
Okay. First of all, I want to commend the congregation for the for how active they were in this session. And the first thing that you can do is to just learn. You know, it makes a difference if you know what your MP does, what your governor, what your senator, what your MCA does. Because if you don't know what they do, then you'll not be able to hold them accountable. Then we keep on mentioning public participation forum. Si tunazisema? But people don't know where they are being conducted. Can this church be challenged that when you're making your announcements, that you are also saying, by the way, there is a public participation forum happening in XYZ, please come to Mavoko Ward on this date, so that the people can know this information and go and participate. Because again, if you cannot participate if you don't know. And before you know, you need to have access to that information, right? Then ask questions. Usiogope, ask questions about your project. If this road has so many potholes that when it rains, it's almost impossible to pass, you should be able to ask questions. Ask questions about the projects, about the budget. Ask how much was allocated for this particular road. And then now you can use your own social media, use TikTok, Facebook. Ask, demand for accountability. So I will say we're on the right track because today we've achieved at least one thing. We've been able to learn. At the very least, someone will leave here knowing the role of an MP is to represent, oversight, and legislate. Yeah.
Thank you for that. And I think the JAM leadership you've had, JAM justice you've had, make this a continuous program. We are on the right track.
You know, there's one thing, it's making that person who doesn't know they know that they know. The channel on which you use, make that person who doesn't know they know that they know.
Amazing. Wonderful. Now, I want to ask this to our Honorable MCA. You know, sitting in this room today, you're accountable to the people of your ward, and at large, accountable to the people seated here. I would like you to make one public commitment today. You know, something specific and something measurable that, you know, the people can hold you accountable to. And not just a general promise, a commitment that you have picked from the conversations in this room.
One of the things I've realized I need to communicate and explain. Not everyone loves to read the books, to be honest. Going through the Constitution, having to digest it, getting to know what the role, especially of an MCA, is, the role of the governor. So one of the things, I'm really shy, by the way, in spending attention, which is very interesting. As much as I'm a public figure, mulala kama nimejitrain, how, like, as in preparing myself pretty much mentally to be able to interact with people. So I've really delayed so much to be doing that, pretty much on social media. Just a clip of 2 minutes, that's enough for people to be able to learn from it. So that's a commitment I'm going to do to educate our people so that by next year, when you're going to the voting ballot, you are able to understand. If I'm voting for the president, I understand this person I'm voting for will be able to execute their mandate and all the way to the 6th ballot. So that's a commitment. And also I'll do it in, not just in Swahili or English or whatever the Sheng, I'll also do it in Kamba. So that, like my brother said, which is very true, kuna mtu kule mashinani, honestly, ana hiyo information. Unajua siasa za huku town ni tofauti na siasa za huko mashinani. That's just the reality. Na venye tu amesema, kuna mtu tu ule atapewa unga na yeye ndio atampigia kura. Because hiyo tu ndio amemuona. So it's important tuanze ku disseminate your information hadi huko. So that's a commitment. That's a commitment I'll do. So thank you.
Tumeshika hiyo because we are going to hold her accountable to it. And because today you're sitting here also on behalf of our MCA, who you said you work with, we want you to pass that commitment to them too. See, we will be checking hizo social media pages zao. Kama wana communicate your information, we'll hold them responsible. We'll hold them accountable. And now to bring this panel discussion to a close, I just want to ask just a 30 seconds question to each of the panelists here as a closing remark. Just tell us the one thing that a Kenyan who wants a better country but doesn't know where to start, where would they start? What would you tell a young Kenyan today? Where can they start? I just want everybody to tell us something. 30 seconds.
For me, let me just go. Lazima ujiamini. Kumbe they were trying to see, is this young person ready to lead us? So when they see you are able to, then they'll be like, yeah, actually she's very capable. So lazima ukue.
Thank you.
Yeah. So that will be my advice.
So her take is jiamini na jitume. I want to hear this from every panelist. Just 2 words.
Before you make any decision, abide all decisions by the word of God.
Amen.
I had a mouthful. I had a mouthful. But yes, I agree with him. Abide, but also start where you are with what you have. change doesn't come because of a few good leaders. It comes because we as a society have made an active decision to participate. And maybe as a second thing is, let us cultivate a culture of care, that where we are, we care about each other, we love each other as citizens, there's empathy, there's humanity in everything that we do. That's how we are able to change a society. Start now, no matter how small, just start with where you are. The people who've been here today, if you've learned something new, tell someone else, today I learned this. And even as a challenge to PCEA, Syokimau Parish, entrench governance issues into your messaging in the sermons. It's quite important. Everything is political. Our life, our budgets, our health, everything is political. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'd say don't forget your roots.
Interesting. Don't forget your roots.
Repeat the question.
I'm asking your take home, just your one word. If to the young people today, where should they start?
It is, but you as an individual, you don't keep your promises. So it starts with you. Yeah.
Nice one.
Mine is to just let you know, to get accountability is actually easier than most people think. You just have to have initiative, right? So for people that are maybe mamambogas, they have a mamamboga union, Boda Boda Riders, Boda Boda Union, National Youth Council exists for youth. Just join these groups so that when it becomes like a policy issue, something that affects you, these are the most basic people that, you know, that they're very within reach, right? So there are people that are closer to you. You guys are able to enact maybe change from that perspective, and then it just goes up the ladder. Because if we say maybe you hold maybe someone like Ruto accountable, there's no way for you to do that. So in your area of business, in your area of maybe like being a youth, it's very easy if you take it like from a collective kind of perspective. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I had like 10,000 things to say, but I would say the reality is that we live in a very corrupt community. And the best way to be famous is not by being corrupt, is by being the opposite. So if you want to be famous, carry integrity with you. Thank you.
Amazing. I think our panelists deserve a round of applause. And so now I'm going to invite questions or comments from the audience. If you get an opportunity to ask a question, please make it brief. You can direct it to any of the panelists, or you can just have a general comment. So quickly. Our president there. Very brief, eh?
Yeah. I have a question and a comment. I'll start with the comments. Molina said we are ready, and I agree we are ready. But to understand it, are we as Kenyans, are we the Pharaohs? Is the president the Ruto? Ruto is he the Moses? Or Ruto is he the Israelites? Or are we the Israelites? Now, the question is, when you draw it from the book of the story of the Israelites and Pharaoh, and us as Kenyans and the president, because us like Gen Zs, tumeharden roho zetu kabisa. Mimi ni one time. But the question is, what is God trying to teach us when we draw from the context from the Bible and to what is happening today? Thank you.
Rev, that's a whole sermon. Any other question? We can take at least two or so.
Thank you. I have a comment and two questions. So my first comment is about campaign financing. I'd like just to comment on what my brother said, whereby most of us Kenyans, we have reached in a, ama tumezoea too, like the politicians, they always give us handouts. And I think it has reached a point whereby the politicians know that it's very easy to buy or purchase the votes, whereby they come to the, even on the election day, and someone's being given like 200, 500, unaambiwa, nipe ID yako, ama nipe kura yako. And that's how even people sell their votes. Wengine wanapeana ID and they don't vote. And it ends up to whereby we have bad leadership or governance. And I think it should now reach, tunafaa tu sisi wenyewe, it reaches a place whereby we now finance our own, whereby instead of us thinking of what can the politicians give us during the time of the campaigns, we be able to finance our own, whom we think that they can be, they can make good leaders, so that we can be able to hold them accountable. Isifike ile place ya kwamba yenye wao ndio wanakuja kutu hold accountable because wali spend 50 million kwa campaign wakatupea, so lazima warudishe pesa yao. So we can be able to finance our own, elect our own, and now we can be able to hold them accountable. And now to my questions. The first question goes to the MCA. And I believe that some of these political elites and such people are, some of them are your friends, wengine mmekaa nao kwenye mikutano mikubwa. And I don't know why, maybe niulize tu, sijui kwa nini wengi wao wanahisi ya kwamba hivi viti ni haki yao, whereby we cannot hold them accountable in case of bad governance or leadership, corruption cases. Tunasikia ya kwamba funds fulani zenye zilikuwa ziende kufanya kitu fulani zimepotea, pesa fulani ilikuwa imewekwa ya kuweka barabara imepotea. Whenever you speak up, utasikia umekuwa abducted, utasikia huyo mtu amepatikana kwa msitu huko. Whenever you post on social media about the corruption, maybe in the police service, whatever, like in the case of Albert Ojwang, utauliwa. I don't know why, maybe utatueleza, yani it's like they feel it's their birthright ama sijui. They should just be there forever. Hata kama tunaambiwa sisi ndio viongozi wa kesho, inatukalia vigumu sana, because hata wakati wa campaign, whenever they see that you are a worthy competitor na kuna, yani just a sign ya kwamba utachaguliwa, you being intimidated, and even political assassinations, they do happen in such kind of cases. Another question I'll ask my sister from Muzalendo about democracy. We are a democratic country. Does democracy work for us in developed countries? Does democracy work for them in a way ya kwamba everyone is allowed to vote? Like, is there a need for everyone to vote for a nation to develop or to grow? Because for me, I don't know how I feel about it. Niko na mixed feelings about democracy, ya kwamba kila mtu anakubaliwa kuvote, whereby wakati tunafanya civic education inakuwa ngumu sana, sababu kuna wale wengine ambao still hawaelewi hata hizo roles za how leaders. So hata akichagua ajui, bora amepewa kaunga, amepewa nini. So does democracy really work in such kind of a situation or in a nation kama here to ya Kenya? Thank you.
Thank you. I want us to take one more question, and then we can allow for answers.
Okay, hi everyone. Thank you so much for the panelists and the talk. I've really learned a lot. My question is directed to our representative from Zalendo and our MCA. Although it's not a topic of discussion today, but it's low-key ties to what we're talking about. So we've been having issues of enforced disappearances and police brutality in Kenya, especially when it comes to matters maandamano and people expressing their freedom of expression and all that. So Zalendo deals with civic education, meaning you talk to the people and teach them what their rights are and how they can freely exercise those rights. However, you'll go to someone, tell them, if you find this bill does not align with what you want, you can easily just say no through public participation. But this very person will go for this public participation, vote no, then the next day, their posters put up, this person is missing. So how do we bridge this gap,
between enforced disappearances and police brutality causing the fear in people, and actually telling the people to come out there and speak out. Yeah.
Thank you. I think we'll take those questions first. Maybe we'll start with Rev.
Can you repeat your question? Anyway, no, it's okay on a light note. Because it's very complex. It's a very complex question. But I also must appreciate you for your consistency in asking very good questions. Let's appreciate this guy. I don't know what your name is, but you always talk about money also. Everything has to trillions, money. But I appreciate your involvement, your engagement. And I like also the way you have brought out images of the scripture and trying to get them to the present day life. That's really commendable. Then you go to the thick of things, like you have a very good, you pick whatever you picked it from a very good place. The book of Exodus. Because the book of Exodus is a book of freedom. Just for us to be reminded. It's a book of freedom. Exodus means movement, right? Moving from captivity to freedom. And that is the entire theme of Scripture. Scripture is always moving us from captivity to freedom. So I don't know whether you knew about that, but it's a very good pick. Now, the complexity of, are we Pharaoh? Who is Pharaoh? Who is Israelites? Who is not? Are we hard heart? Are we like Moses? That's a real struggle. But to be very honest with you, because I've taken that question very seriously, is that that's a very important theological question that gives you lenses to see people. You can be able to say, that's Pharaoh there, that's Moses there, that's Israel there. Let's start with Israel. Israel is us, okay? That's easy, Israel is definitely us, but not just us, but we are us people who feel what power does. We also have choices to make, because Israel also suffered consequences many times of what they did. So the Israelites are people who are governed. I don't know that there was a debate on whether they have more power or less power, but we the people can see ourselves as Israelites. And we've cried to God sometimes because we say, oh God, we are sorry for what we've done. Now, in the present situation, there's a sorry for what we've done. Because the people in power, all of them, we put them there. You get, for one reason or other. So we are sorry for putting many people in power, whereas they were never interested in us. And maybe there were other people who God was showing us, even now, maybe there are people God is showing us, and we still have a hard heart. I think there's a hard heart you mentioned somewhere. But we are the Israelites, facing consequences, but also making choices continually. Come to Pharaoh. Pharaoh, now bringing Pharaoh to our present context, Pharaoh represents oppression. It doesn't have to be one particular person. You could be in a workplace, pali unafanya kazi, and there's a Pharaoh-like person who akiingia tu hivi ni kuoppress tu. You see? Could be a person. It could be a system. Like, say, for instance, the system of university education has become, no one even talks about it anymore, because so many people were not able to go to university and are still at home today because it was oppressive. So you find Pharaoh in places of oppression. So we don't say the president, the deputy, broad base, Wamunyoro, that they are Pharaoh. They could be Pharaoh-like, but Pharaoh is really where we find oppression. Doesn't have to be at the top. People celebrated. We were all over the street saying Moses has come. Where is Moses? Do you find yourself more deeper into Egypt, or close to the big, you find yourself deeper in. You thought you'd come out of Egypt, but you're being told, before you come out of Egypt, go deeper into. Yeah. So we are always looking for Moses. Even 2027, I think it's the 10th of August 2027, we'll still be looking for Moses as MCAs, Moses as senators, Moses as county, and it's very important for us. And I think we've been asked, that's what we've been reflecting around here. Ask yourself, how well do you know this person? And are they really, really Moses? Like, are they carriers of freedom? Or did they just give me 200 shillings and therefore I can vote for them? So we are being called early enough to interrogate and ask these persons, does she look like a Moses, right? Does another person look like a Moses? And you have to do a very thorough work because it's serious time. And I would want to invite also Mzalendo to give us a tool. Give us a tool where we can assess. You have given us a tool on how to see how our people are speaking, right, in Parliament. Give us a tool on how we can now say, this is a Pharaoh, this is a Moses. Give us a tool. We have some time, and we really appreciate. Yeah.
Amazing. That's a good call. Mzalendo, I hope you've noted that. Our MC, I think you can ask the question on entitlement of, the politicians, and the question of why they fear fair competition, leading to abductions.
Issues is that it's very much nature of a human being to be entitled. Like, it's very easy, even with our young kids, our young brothers and sisters. Sometimes you're like, don't take my phone. And they'll be like, I'm going to take it, or they start crying. That's the nature of humans. But one of the things I've interacted with the political elites and all that is that some of them, to be honest, even the money they are paid, they don't need it. Yeah. The majority of the politicians, they're well off, they are well loaded, they don't need money that they are paid. So, and with such kind of money, you find most of them, they're there just for power. Tunataka power. It's not a joke. By the way, when we hear them say such statements, this is not any to associate with the leader of ODM. It's just the nature of politicians. It's about the power. Because when they have the power, they're able to do their businesses easily. For instance, if I go to Tanzania today and I'm an MCA, I must tell my speaker that I've left the country. Yes, mimi nika MCA. Na kama sitaki kukua on the eyes of Tanzania or Uganda or any other country, kama siendi on official duty, I don't tell them, mimi ni mheshimiwa. Because now there is another special treatment, or now the government of that country itakuwa inakumulika hivi. Unaenda kulala wapi, unafanya nini, vitu kama hizo. So just by the virtue elected by the people, it gives you another extra power. I can go to any country and walk in and say I'm a mheshimiwa, and then it will be now probably embassy to embassy now discussing about me. So those characters that they love, the mheshimiwas, the benefits that come with that, and it's also immense with such a power that you have. So hiyo ndo unapatanga ndo wanapiganianga. And of course, even in football, say kuna tournaments, I mean the World Cup ina happen, you can see how everyone is fighting to win, to be awarded as the best team imeweza kushinda World Cup. It's the same na politics. Politics will never, any game, hakuna game inakuanga fair. People will always be fighting whatever the strength they have to be able to get to the highest position. And that's why if they have money, they will lose money. If they have connections, they will lose connections. If their family is influential, kwa ground, kuna family is very influential. They might not be political, as in hakuna mtu anataka kiti kwa hiyo family, but that family you find kwa hiyo area, they are very influential. So they will use anything to get to the high seat. And of course, na hiyo story, abductions and all that, of course for me it's really sad. And one of the things I keep on telling young people, as much as we have the freedom of expression, politics zinakuanga na limits. Like for instance, I'm not advocating for young people being killed and all that, but when as a politician, let's say for instance it's me, and I've seen someone post a picture of my daughter or my son, na kuna ile political unrest yenye ilikuwa, and I've seen you've posted my child anasomea hii shule ama ako uni, ako hostel gani. As a parent, do you think that I'll wait for my child to be harmed? Honestly, utangoja? Will you wait? No, nataka tuongee ukweli. Yes, uko na shida na mimi kama mheshimiwa, alafu post picha ya mamangu ako na biashara mahali. Do you think ndakungoja mamangu aende umie juu yako? I will not. I will act like a human being and protect my mother. If you wanted to harm my mom, and that's the nature of human beings. Na, sorry to say this, kuna politicians hata sisi wakituita kwao tukakule mbuzi na nini, mi hata siendangi, because we know how their character is. So it's very important, even when we're calling out the leaders, let's call them out with decorum. You might not respect them, but let's have that decorum. Usianze kutusi mtu, uanze kupost pictures za bibi yake kwa mtandao ako uchi, ama their daughters, ama their husbands, in case for women who for us we're in politics. It does not look good, because you do not know this person, how they acquired their wealth and how they acquired their their power, because we do not know the strength and the extremes. And Pastor, Reverend can tell you, here in politics, si kila mtu wa kanisa. Si kila mtu wa kanisa. So I totally am against it, but I usually say call out us leaders with decorum. And of course, place yote kumekuwa na hizo issue, as in we are calling justice for Albert, we are calling justice for all these people, but just know the extreme. Even now tunaonanga kina Oko kwa social media wakisema hizi vitu. Guys, these people have protection. And Muzalendo can wenye wamewaka kwa hizi organizations. Unashisikia wapiga umbo ndo ujue mwenyewe ni nani? In Kamba tunasemanga kuna ngito mane mwene no. So sometimes usione mtu amepost kitu kwa social media, no mse ashikui. Huyu mzee utaisikia amefa. Kuna mtu ako behind yeye, a powerful person in the government protecting them. And then sasa mimi nimekuja hapa Zora, nimeanza kujifanya sijui nini. Mimi ndo ndachukuliwa na mimi ndo ndafanya nini? Mimi ndo ndaumia. So it's very important to start kujua politics. As much as we are calling out these leaders, let's know our limits to survive, because pia kesho we need you. Tomorrow you might be the MCA. You know, when you make sure just, we get to know just the limits. And of course, politics, see, it's not a fair game, by the way. You have to be very smart. You have to use wisdom for you able to acquire that. And of course, once you are there, also for me, I'll be defending my seat come 2027. So I'll make sure I'll do, like as in kama ni kuitisha kura, like as in depending on how the game will be looking like. It's how now, na game yetu inakuanga determined na nani? Wapiga kura. Nikisikia mtu amepeana unga pale, na mimi naenda kupania sukari ile side ingine. So it's just how politics are, because it will be determined. Kama mzana, like as in that's the reality. We are kona leso sawa na mimi naenda kutafuta t-shirt na hiyo side ingine. So it's just how politics. So it's not going to be easy. You have to defend your seat. And also, Napia, this is another interesting part about also politics. I've seen people with so much money wameshindwa na watu hawana pesa. It's a weird game. It's a weird game. Weird. Yani unapata msi, I have an MCA, alishinda independent too in Machakos. Alikuwa anashindana na msi alitumia almost 15 million kwa kampeni yake, na yeye tu MCA alitumia 1.7 million. Unaona hiyo disparity? Na akamshinda, na hata huyo mtu akuja number 2 alikuwa number 3 na ametumia 5 million, na number 1 17 million, na number 1 ametumia 1.7, that the figure. So politics is very weird and very interesting. So it's just, you just manage your ground venye iko. That's how us as politicians operate.
Thank you. I think we get the gist of, I hope she has answered your question in many words, but basically is to tell you that politics is equals to power, and power is what gives them the entitlement, and the competition comes in. And even as we are engaging in our maandamanos and all that, let's just be informed and also do it within controlled spaces. So finally, I think, Mzalendo, you will close this session with a question on democracy and police brutality.
You can hear me? So I just want to respond first to Okari, who spoke about campaign financing. And I know we've been having this conversation about handout, where you're told, like that question that came up, if you were given like maybe a packet of unga, will it affect how you vote? So I want us to try and look at it from a different perspective. This handout culture did not come from a vacuum. It's because our institutions have failed us. So if we had access to health, access to education, access to all these amenities that we require to become a well-functioning society, then we will not have a handout system. And I say that because when I don't have school fees for my child, for example, and I know the area MP, and I have tried all means, I have done harambes, I still don't have money, it will just be automatically for me as a human being to call the MP, tafadhali, nisaidie mtoto wangu asikose kwenda shule. So it means that we shift from institutions, and then now we start looking at the politician as yeye ndio kutupanga. So like the personal generosity of that politician becomes, he carries the responsibility of the society. But the point is we need to be questioning, why are our institutions failing? Because we should be asking, why is this leader contributing 100 million? We should not be saying, hey, huyu alitoa 10M, huyu alitoa 5, huyu hata hana, huyu ako nayo. We should be asking, why is health underfunded in this budget cycle? That's why we should be going to be able to cure this issue of handouts. But again, I might be idealistic because it's difficult. It's not something that will change overnight. But we as a society can start asking those critical questions. Then on democracy is it has its challenges, but it's one of the best systems that we have. And because everyone gets to participate, everyone gets a right to influence how decisions are made for them. So the thing that we are trying to emphasize today, yes, everyone must vote. Everyone has a right to vote. And democracy does not end on 10th of August 2027 after you cast your ballot. It is a continuous process. It is why we have in Article 10 of the Constitution, Article 118, we speak about public participation. Democracy is a continuous process. So let us shift from looking at it as a point of it's a one-off thing. It is continuous. And
as it is written in the Bible, my people perish because of lack of knowledge. And you see, you're having to do surveys. It's costly, first of all. It is time-consuming, but it is also educational. So what if we put it in an extent that we reach children who are at this age, teach them about civic education, because you see, learning begins at birth. Whatever the child picks on, ndio anaenda nayo. So if we can reintroduce civic education into the system of small children, then it will be wonderful. We'll be able to overcome these things, yeah.
Thank you. I think I want to thank the panelists. Please, you may take your seats. And as they do that, maybe I can answer the question of police brutality. I know we can have partnerships with similar organizations that actually deal with police brutality. I know we have done that before here as a church through JPRC. And for sure, I have seen those questions come out. It's something that we can look into the future. And as I hand over the mic to the moderator of the day, just in summary, some of the issues that we have agreed to do going forward. One, call out our politicians for their role. Remember, we've been told we are the creators of them. So let's call them out. Two, let's take time to understand, learn the roles of the electoral positions. Let us access this information. Even today, if you go to the website of Mzalendo, you will find some very meaningful information there. Then, quite insightful, accountability to God. Ask yourself always, what would Jesus do? You know, the fear of God in you. Ask yourself, what would Jesus do? And then also, jiamini, jitume, and creating safe spaces like these ones. We can continue having continuous engagements like this so that we can create safe spaces. And to each of us, we just do our small little bit, you know, like the hummingbird. And I think we shall make it. Sindio? Great, thank you.
Hello, hello. Good evening. Bwana asifiwe. Amen. We are now coming to the end of our wonderful session today. And if it was informative, just give me a thumbs up. Kama umelan kitu nipatia thumbs up. Kama ungetaka we have such a session again, give me a thumbs up. Kama umependa Mzalendo Trust, give me a thumbs up. Na kama Mzalendo wamependa Jam, give us a thumbs up. Thank you. So thank you so much. And you will allow me now that through our reflections, we've also given our commitment. We thank the Lord and we've continued noting that. And I have noted several things that we need to commit ourselves to. And one of it being we as the youth, we as the young people, we have a voice, and how we express ourselves on those social media sites, how we express ourselves in the areas where we are working and in our businesses, and also us holding our leaders accountable. All these things are things that we've been called to do, and I'm trusting that today was not just a day of sitting, listening, sharing, and all that, but it is a beginning of something great. And without taking much more time, I want to welcome my brother so that he gives us or takes us through the commitment part, even as he also gives the vote of thanks, and then I'll take it up from there. Karibu sana.
Asante. Sitasema mengi, and the very fact that we were supposed to finish at 1 and we are finishing at 3:30 is an indication that it was a very productive session, and we haven't seen any one of us walking out because they are tired. So clap for yourselves. So us as Mzalendo, we are very grateful for being given this space, for innovating this new dialogue space. Like we said, we've never had a dialogue in a church. So it is a space that we have exploited for the first time, and when we go back to our offices, we'll go back with a very positive message that it's a space that we can have dialogues, and dialogues that are very productive, and dialogues that are very facing in towards a Kenya that is led by people with integrity. There are two of my colleagues before I finish who have not had a chance to speak to you. Ako wapi Sally? Just want them to say hi. Sally, just wave. She's Sally, works in our programs team. Louisa hasn't had a chance. She's Louisa, works in the communications team. So nikimalizia, kuna mambo mawili ambayo Rev ametaja, coming up with a tool that gives us a Pharaoh and a Moses. So, and I know we have to co-create something together, and I will honor my side of the promise. In all the, not all the years, in the election year since 2017, there is a campaign that we usually run called the Red Card campaign. And this campaign usually takes notes or highlights leaders who are running for elective positions, but they have been mentioned highly in corruption cases, in scandals, and we give them a red card. And this red card is usually to trigger citizens to go into the profiles of people who are running for elections and come up or identify characters or elements of people who cannot lead without maybe stealing from them, people who cannot lead, or people who are not of good character, in essence. And we usually use chapter 6 as a yardstick of measuring who can lead and who cannot. And that's the assignment that I'm telling Rev. We will co-create on how chapter 6 can become a whole sermon, especially in the year, in our election year, and tell Christians, tell citizens that these are the people that you should vote for, and these are the people that you should not vote for. Then give you the choice to go and decide whether you want Moses or Pharaoh. The other thing that we have in line with that, and I would like to encourage you, nawaomba, mara kwa mara mna visit www.mzalendo.com. There are so many tools, there is knowledge, there is information that you can use that will help you in a way to make some of these civic decisions. Nowadays, we don't have, at least I did geography, history, and physics, civics, but nowadays it is not there. I think people who are developing our curriculum want citizens who are not well informed on matters of governance. So if you visit our website, you will find some of these tools. And one of the key tools that we have at the moment, and will be very key next year during the general election, inaitwa Promise Tracker. Hii Promise Tracker itakusaidia, kuna manifesto ambayo the ruling government wali campaign nayo, si ndio? Wakakuja wakawambia tutafanya. So we track all those promises and we'll tell you how many promises have been fulfilled up to now, how many are in progress, how many have been broken. So find time and interact with that tool. Now, what else would I say? I'm grateful, we are grateful, you are a good congregation, you are a good group of young people. We've seen even people who are not young who have participated in this conversation. So just to end, I will tell you this is just the beginning. As Mzalendo, we will do more to have more and more of these dialogues. Asanteni sana na nashukuru. May God bless you.
Thank you so much. Let's appreciate him once again and the Mzalendo team. That is very wonderful. And now finally, I want to welcome our youth patron, Elder Jane. And then after that, she will welcome Rev to close for us. Makofi, Elder Jane.
A very good afternoon, and I thank God because we've been able to get this far. My prayer is that the impact is not going just to be retained to ourselves, that by the end of the coming week, at least you will have impacted 5 of your social circles with what we've learned today. When we talk about the dialogue that has just happened, I think about who else needs this. And then I ask myself, yes, there are those that need to hear of the same, but do they even know Mzalendo? And where do they even know where they need to know from? And from that, now you get to a place whereby you need to appreciate the grace, not grace the person, but the grace that the Lord has given unto us, that this partnership has come to happen. And we thank God so much because it is by His grace that we've gotten ourselves this far. And because of that grace, everyone wants to be a witness of the same grace as we celebrate the partnership that the Lord has given unto us. And as even we stamp it, and Lev is our witness, Grace and Mr. Getuku and the Mzalendo team. In Jam ministry, we don't do one-offs. By that I mean we don't do it and stop there. When we do the first one, we look forward for a quarterly one. If it's not able, if it's too soon, we give you an option to choose of maybe you can be doing it 3 times a year. But we don't do it and stop there. We do it because we have a vision of growing, and we don't believe in just ours impacting the nation. Because our zeal is from inside ourselves, and we need to grow the seeds that we've planted. So even as we go at the back, the room is a room where we converse on how often this can be happening. And we are very much ready. This was just a beginning. The forthcomings are going to be greater and bigger. So I want to take this opportunity as we appreciate the Mzalendo so that they can come here, the entire team, as well as the Jam Justice lead team, as we appreciate the giveaways that you've given onto us, and as the same goes into records, so that every time we look at them, we'll make a prayer that Mzalendo will be celebrating the 10th decade here. Did you hear? We are celebrating these are 20. Now, when we go to the 50th one, we've offered the venue. We'll celebrate it here. Yeah, so karibuni sana with the giveaways as we proceed. Ziko hapa zingine.
What's the formula?
Yes. So we came bearing some gifts for JAM as to just thank you for the partnership and for welcoming us. And because we are civic educators, we brought 10 copies of the Constitution, which we hope will be stored in your library, and you'll be able to teach and spread information about accountability. So we'll hand over, you know, normally when you're handing over gifts, lazima uoneshane labda nimeka hapa unga. So wacha niwaoneshe.
Statement. Handing to the JAM team, we extend our thanks to the members of the PCEA Syokimau PRC who have seen and mentored us to see to is that JAM Justice has come to a realization. To our participants and attendees, thank you for your presence. Thank you for your engagement, and thank you for your thoughtful contributions. Your willingness to learn from one another and your participation is what has made this dialogue meaningful and impactful. As we conclude, may the conversations we have made today inspire us to become better leaders, responsible citizens, and faithful stewards of the opportunities that the God, our Lord, has given unto us. We thank you all and pray that the Lord will continue blessing us, blessing you and us abundantly, that this shall be done for his glory. Without further ado, I will invite our parish minister, Reverend Dr. Furi, to come and do the closing remarks, as well as close with a word of prayer. And as he stands here, remember there is lunch that has been prepared for us. As we partake it, may the blessings of the Lord be with us.
Again, if I was to talk, I would repeat what has already been said, but I'll repeat just one more thing, that this is the beginning. We are very thankful, Mzalendo, for this partnership, and we look forward to wonderful things being born from this partnership to the glory of God. And in the spirit of what we've been learning today, our closing today will be the national anthem. Let us stand. E Mungu nguvu yetu, ilete baraka kwetu, haki iwe ngao na mlinzi, na tukae na undugu, amani na uhuru, raha tupate na ustawi. Amkeni ndugu zetu, tufanye sote bidii, nasi tujitoe kwa nguvu. Nchi yetu ya Kenya tunayoipenda, tuwe tayari kuilinda, na tujenge taifa letu. Wajibu wetu, Kenya istahili heshima. Tuungane mikono pamoja kazini, kila siku tuwe na shukrani. Amen.
Thank you. So we are free to leave and walk to where our lunch is being served. Our guests will walk to the vestry. Na barikiweni sana. Your presence here was a great blessing. Kwa hivyo Angie amehakikisha mambo yako ready pale nje. Kwa hivyo tuelekee tu pale kwa tent so that we can have our lunch. After our lunch, we are free to leave. We can leave at our own pleasure. Thank you.